breathe. Everyone stop and everyone breathe. Okay? Before we get into any of this, I want you to ask yourself and be honest with yourself. What problem is CIG trying to solve with item recovery in Star Citizen? What problem are they trying to solve? I want you to take a moment, pause the video, think for about 30 seconds, maybe more, and come up with what do you think, problem or problems, doesn't have to be a singular one. What is the problem CIG is trying to solve? In case you aren't aware and you were living under a rock, CIG came out with a post, and the fire starter himself, Xylo, is the one who posted it. I'm kind of convinced at this point that Xylo posts these because he's just got a thicker skin. He's been around for a while. It can deal with the community. Because I think if a dev posted this, they would have gotten absolutely cooked. And I don't think Xylo cares if he gets cooked. And CIG basically laid out their plans for item recovery going forward in Star Citizen. So once again, take a moment, stop, and think about why they are making these changes. Okay, now let's get into the post. Very quickly, we're gonna be pausing a lot on this. As we prepare for the Evocati test phase, our upcoming Alpha 4.1 patch, we would like to introduce the iterative release plan for item recovery, a long-awaited system that gives players more control over reclaiming their valuable gear after death. Key term being valuable. Right? Somewhere here, it says that this was one of the most requested gameplay additions. Okay? Somewhere in here, this was one of the most requested. They said that. Now, that's true. This is one of the most requested things. And therefore, CIG said, we have a problem and we need to solve it. Now, why was it one of the most requested things, do you think? I can only speak from my perspective, and my perspective isn't just my opinion. It's also, I spend all day thinking about Star Citizen. I'm looking at I'm looking at the forums. I'm looking at Spectrum. I'm looking at Reddit. I'm looking everywhere, right? Everywhere you've seen, hey, I bought some armor on the website, and I would really like to use it because it looks cool. And this is not a PvP versus PvE problem here that's trying to be solved. This is I walk out of the house and I walk out of my hangar in Star Citizen. I can get clipped into some collision at an outpost, have to backspace, and then when I go back, I won't even be there because my body would have fallen through the planet and isn't in the core of the planet or something like that. Like that is the situation that we're in right now. This isn't a PvP versus PvE situation at all. It is strictly a game problem, right? We have purchased things and we have items that people don't want to lose, and there's no way to recover it. Anytime they've mentioned this, people were really excited what they had to say and the decisions that they had to make. So once again, what's the issue with losing your ship? What's the issue with losing your gear? All of this stuff. This is very clearly a monetization strategy. This is their way to incentivize purchasing armor, because people probably aren't purchasing it as much. People don't see the value in subscriber store, things like that, right? This is very clearly a monetization strategy. Is that a bad thing? No. There's nothing wrong with them shifting away from power creeping ships like the F7 Mark II and moving to saying, buy cool looking armor. There's nothing wrong with that. What's wrong is their implementation of armor and all these things into the game, because you're not buying a skin for the AO3. You're buying the AO3 with the skin already attached to it. You're buying this unique item that is already a totally different thing from a standard AO3. You're not buying an AO3 and then just always able to apply a skin or automatically able to apply a skin to it. You're not buying Morozov armor and then automatically applying your favorite color to it. These are common things in other video games. This isn't a Eve thing. This isn't a Tarkov thing. This is in nearly every game thing. And they chose to go an entirely different route throughout the entire game's process. And I've been warning them about this for years. Okay? I've been warning them about this for years. Players want to retain their valuable looking armor. They want to look cool. That happens in MMOs all the time. That's my assumption. Now, there's this whole other element to this. Once again, this is not a PvP versus PvE scenario. They stated again, it was one of the most requested features. You're going to see me looking up because I have a list of bullet points that I want to make sure I hit, and I want to make sure I'm clear about it because I don't want to turn this into drama that it doesn't need to be. I think that my opinions are largely with the majority of the community, not the extreme minorities of the community. Okay. They stated it was one of the most requested features. What happened between myself and Captain Foxy Loxy and this whole item insurance, silly duping drama stuff that happened a few months back? I stated something very clearly. Why are players doing this, and why do players want this to be a feature so bad, and why are they calling it a feature? Because there is endless friction to equipping your character, equipping your ship, logging into the game and just playing, and it's even worse after death, right? There is endless friction to that experience. This is also part of that problem. Okay? These two things, the monetization strategy of I bought cosmetics on the website, and wow, this game has tons of friction to just generally enjoy it, go hand in hand. Okay? So that's what I believe the problems are. Now, I want to pose this question out to you. I'm not going to be really paying too much attention to Twitch chat here, because again, I want to make sure that I don't get distracted and my points are come across clear. Do you or do you agree at all that that is the root problem that we have here? There are definitely some players who never want to lose anything, and they just want to, run around with the most powerful guns and never lose any. There are going to be players like that. I believe, in my opinion, those are going to be the minority. Okay? I believe that most people just want to use their cool-looking cosmetics and just want to play the game. Okay? And I think the root of the problem is the Star Citizen experience and the way they implemented their cosmetic items. Now, we haven't even read the post yet. That's what I believe the problem they're trying to solve with this post is. All right? So now, let's scroll down. And what I'm going to do is I am just going to read word for word their words. I am not going to interject. I am not going to pause. I am not going to stop and share my opinions here, because their words are the gold here. And then I have about 10 tabs that, some of them are what Rich Tyrer posted in my Twitch chat in the past few years, things that have been said in YouTube videos, community sentiment, and so on. Okay? Now, today we want to provide a more detailed breakdown of some of the iterative releases that will start to bring these plans to life. The initial Tier 0 rollout... Oh, it's hard not to pause. The initial Tier 0 rollout will be fairly basic compared to the full system, but it marks a crucial first step, as we shared at CitizenCon. The complete item recovery system will be far more robust and nuanced, making gear management and a core gameplay element. Okay? So that's really important. You will be able to secure the items that matter most while still allowing room for piracy and emergent gameplay. Just really focus on this while still allowing for piracy and emergent gameplay. I don't believe that's going to happen here. First thing, Tier 0 implementation. What are your first thoughts when you see Tier 0 implementation in 2025 when the focus is on improving the game? That's a scary kind of phrase, right? With the initial rollout of item recovery in Alpha 4.1, internally referred to as Tier 0, internally referred to, we shouldn't refer to it externally, right? Okay, I gotta stop. You will respawn with the exact gear you had equipped at the time of death. They have bolded and underlined equipped. Emphasis on the term equipped, as this is different than what you may have had in your inventory. This includes equipped weapons. So in case people aren't aware, you can equip a total of 3 weapons. You can have 1 pistol. You can have 2 guns on a backpack. So if you have a backpack, you have a maximum of 3 weapons that you can carry. All right. This includes equipped weapons, armor, magazines, med pens, ensuring that your core loadout is retained. However, items stored in your inventory, such as your backpack or other containers, will remain on your corpse, making them available for looting or retrieval. So this has both good things and bad things. The good things are you're going to see people take out their paid for stuff. You're going to see a variety of different looking players than you ever have before. You typically only see those in the PTU because you can just copy and get it back, right? The bad things are you never are going to loot any players, really. But I guess in CZs you can loot the contested zone keys. That would be something valuable that you can loot. While equipped items will also remain on your corpse too, they will not be interactable. That's going to be weird. Preventing item duplication while still preserving the visual state of your character at the time of death. This approach helps mitigate item duplication issues in the initial implementation while laying the groundwork for future expansions of the system in Tier 1 and 2, which you can read more about below. Now, this was something I also felt pretty strongly about during the item dupe, drama stuff. Does anyone care if there's duping that's happening right now? Not necessarily, right? If you want players to get their stuff back, just let them dupe subscriber armor. I don't see the point. Again, I should not be pausing. Important notes. Items stored in your inventory, for example, items in your backpack, will not be protected and will remain on your corpse upon death, available to be looted and stolen by players or retrieved by you. Items such as magazines, med pens that you have equipped can still be looted from your corpse. However, you will also respawn with these items, as duplication concerns for these types of consumables are less concerning at this stage. That's insane. Tier 0 item recovery applies to all forms of respawning, whether in a med bed or on a ship or at your assigned landing zone. Okay? To ensure that your weapon is active, To ensure that your weapon in active use is secured as an equip item, it will automatically be stowed to your holster upon death. If you die within a landing zone, you will respawn with both your equipped gear and your inventory. Example belongings in your backpack. This will help avoid you losing items of any kind should a death outside your control happen. With Tier 0, you will respawn with your previously equipped gear already attached to your character, right? So this is their idea of removing that friction. I'm curious, what if I equip a CZ key? Yep, that'll be duped on death. Again, there are so many holes in this. So many holes. Scenario example, while exploring, you loot a rifle and store it in your backpack. If you die, that rifle will remain on your corpse, available for others to loot, or for you to revisit your corpse and retrieve. However, the original rifle you had equipped to your character in hand or holstered at the time of death will be secured and respawned with you. Get ready to see a lot of grenade launchers, kids. Looking ahead at Tier 1 and 2. Well, Tier 0 lays the groundwork. It lays zero groundwork for this, by the way, and provides some assurance that your equipped items are not lost. We are already actively developing Tier 1 and 2 implementations. These future updates will add more depth to the system, including a viable path for piracy. So, Tier 1 will introduce the ability to register your gear at ship kiosks or ASOP terminals. Important notes. Personal loadout. Players can register their equipped items, which can be reclaimed for a fee at specific kiosks or freight elevators. Does anyone have a problem with this? You should, but you shouldn't have a problem with it if it was for cosmetics. Right? Ships and interiors. This is insane. Ships, along with their loadouts, decorations, and locker contents, so just everything in the locker, can also be registered. They can be reclaimed in the state they were previously registered at an ASOP terminal for a price. Looting and bricked items. This is even more insane. Once an item is looted, it remains usable until the original owner reclaims it or marks it as stolen. At that point, a dead man switch is activated, meaning it will cease to function after a period of time. While a looted and or stolen / bricked item is no longer usable, you could still sell the item for credits. Okay. Pledged items are auto-registered and will never lose their registration status. They can always be claimed back, even if they were not manually registered. Once again, this is clearly, again, a Band-Aid and not solving the root of the problem that I think we clearly laid out at the beginning. With Tier 1, you will no longer respawn with your preserved gear already equipped. You will need to visit a location such as your freight elevator or reclaim your registered items. We are developing a quality of life feature that allows you to re-equip your previous full loadout with one auto-equip button at this location. Re-adding the friction back in. Very nice. Additionally, with the implementation of Tier 1, our current plan is to remove the ability to backspace out of dangerous scenarios as a way to retain your gear. This is probably a positive. Now, important notes. Looting and bricked item. Once an item is looted, you will have the option to sell it, dismantle it. Hold on, this is Tier 2. Tier 2 will introduce to you a way to restore previously bricked items for a price. So this is very similar to the thing that they told us about stealing a ship and making it your own at CitizenCon. Looting and bricked items. Once an item is looted, you will have the option to sell it, dismantle it for crafting materials, or restore it, with the potential cost of crafting materials and credits to make it your own. This system creates a viable path for piracy. I don't know how, allowing you to claim another player's belongings if you take the necessary steps to legitimize ownership. Since when are pirates going to do anything legitimately? Hello? If any item had a cosmetic applied, restoring it would remove the cosmetic in the process. So what's the point of looting the item? All right. The introduction of item recovery is a significant step towards making gear persistence more meaningful while maintaining the risk and reward balance of looting. Okay. Tier 0 in Alpha 4.1 is just the beginning, and as we further integrate into the broader crafting and insurance systems, we will actively be refining and updating with the help of your feedback through the PTU process and beyond. We'll see you in the verse. So, this is getting a lot of upvotes. And I think for the right reasons, people want to use their stuff. This is getting a fair amount of downvotes, a lot of Picard palms and things like that. Okay, this isn't all bad. This is not all bad, but it is mostly bad. I think they're setting out to try to resolve a problem that we discussed earlier. Tier 0 is insanely, that is not a Band-Aid, it's a full body cast. It's wild. Okay? So, first and foremost, I just want to show some community sentiment here. This one's on Twitter from Zero State. This is, CIJ, I love you, but please skip the Tier 0 of this new looting stuff. Wait until you have Tier 1 ready. Tier 0 is going to be crushingly game killing. No risk, no reward. Can't even loot a guy's gun. 4.1 is going to be really lame if Tier 0 goes in. Just skip it. Wait for Tier 1. Remember when we weren't going to do Tier 1 stuff, right? Our tier 0 stuff. But this, I think, is the actual sentiment of the community. If they find a way to do it only for subscriber gear, it's a good solution. I don't think anyone would complain if they got subscriber gear turned into a skin that could be applied to some sort of a base armor, right? I don't think anyone would care. And if that base armor was fairly easy to recover, I don't think anyone would have a problem with this. Okay, there you go. That's one bit of community sentiment. Next, what are the issues here? It's very clear you never see people use this. You never see people use this, but there's a difference between the two of these. This is a skin. This is a unique armor. There is a problem CIG created for themselves. No one cares about cosmetics. There are clearly at least 452 people that do. So when you say no one cares, you're speaking for yourself and you're doing, everyone a disservice by doing that. So don't say that stuff. This is a unique armor that is unique to its. This is a problem CIG created for themselves. You cannot apply this skin to any armor, right? You cannot apply this to any armor, but you can apply paints to this armor because you could just buy the base armor in game and you could apply these colors to it if you really like yellow, you really like white, or you really like black, right? Same thing here. Many of these armors can be bought in the shop. This is a full set of armor that was given out for subscriber flare, but the only unique items to this is the helmet. Right? All of these things can be purchased in the game, but the helmets cannot. So they've created this really weird system for themselves that makes it really hard to solve this problem that they're trying to fix. Right? Very, very difficult. This is just a skin. Would anyone care? Be honest with yourself. Did you buy the gun because you wanted to have the gun always, or did you buy the gun because the skin was cool? I think most people probably bought the gun because the skin was cool, and I don't think people would care if they could just apply this automatically to the gun. Right? I think I'm probably right on that one. All right? Now, does anyone remember this? We don't need any sound for this. This is Alpha 3.15, Deadly Consequences. This was when looting was introduced into the game. Oh my God. I had never been so excited in my life in Star Citizen's history. And then I pretty quickly got, humbled there by there's really nothing of value to loot from players outside of subscriber gear because it was the only rare and unique thing that was worth doing. And then CIG never really provided anything of value to loot, honestly, until contested zones. Once contested zones came in, then you had contested zone keys that could potentially be looted. Ammo became incredibly valuable, and so on, right? So, this was so exciting. And this totally undermines this patch altogether. Right. Also, imagine knickknacks working. That would be interesting. This is the post itself. And then now we do need sound. So we have a few things that some of the devs have said. And I just want you to think on this and how potentially that these systems undermine some of the work that is potentially going on in the background with other systems. Right.
To answer the economy part of this question, yes, that is a huge undertaking that we have to go through here, and that is we really have to get certain resources out of the system, and the system being our game, and that means that we, as the system design team and everyone working on that, we really have to work closely with the economy team and make sure that even everything that we pull out of the system is meaningful, and then we create certain values for certain resources, because we really want to have a player-driven economy, and we want to have a healthy in-game economy that is driven by our game.
That sounds great, right? Nothing bad there.
And it's a challenge, but we are definitely motivated to resolve that and get that like in a
So no player economy. No. He's literally stating the goal is to have a player economy, but they have to create value for the commodities and things in the game. He's actually speaking. The question was about at your base, will the ore disappear from below it? And then so just
really
keep
good
listening.
state.
You meant.
So what?
Go ahead.
What you're talking about there is like the concept of resource sources and sinks, because having your extractor on your base is a source of resources until it's depleted, but then we need to make sure that there's also sinks for that resource in various gameplay loops, so that you don't just have inflation essentially of.
And what would you guys consider those sinks be? Right? So if they're talking about resources in particular, the only thing that I can think of that is a legitimate sink for a resource is crafting. There is only one. It is crafting. And if there is no incentivization to craft, there is no incentivization to extract materials. Okay? And then again, continue to ask yourself, is this solution that CIG is creating solving the problem of the hey, I want to use my cosmetic gear and I don't want all this friction, while simultaneously not creating 15,000 other problems with crafting? Will this decentivize crafting? In my opinion, it would incredibly decentivize crafting. Now, one of the things that they mentioned was using these materials to recraft these items yourselves, essentially. Right? We have heard that before. Has anybody ever crafted an MMO in their life at this company? I have no idea. But they're missing a big part of this puzzle here. Remember the whole thing about friction? That is one of the most frictionful systems imaginable. Here's why. I die and I lose my subscriber gear, but I always want to look good when I go out. This is a very goofy scenario, but I think it explains it clearly. I die, and now I have to apply all this, these unique items, components, whatever, materials to recraft that thing. What do crafting systems always have? A timer to craft the item. So what you're telling me is, in order to get my item back, I have to wait? What is a better system for that? What is a better system for that? I want you to wait, and I want you to think about that for right now. Think on it. Think to yourself, what would be a better system than crafting it yourself? Also, if you're a PvPer, PvEer, doing bounty hunting, going down to bunkers, if you want to kill the sandworm, are you going to want to spend time crafting your armor? Be honest with yourself. I'm not entirely sure a majority of the community would want to do that. I'm making a guess here, but I think it's a pretty educated one. I don't think the community will want to do that. This clip goes on.
Just a build-up of resources you can't do anything with.
Jared is the one who jumps in.
That'll be a very careful balancing act,
I believe.
Yeah. Interesting in the answer, you mentioned something that I think maybe not a lot of folks have considered. This idea of having multiple or mobile bases. Obviously, folks with the land claims, and we'll talk about the land claims in a bit. You build your home. You might stake out your home. This is where I store my stuff and I decorate and all that stuff. But for industrial purposes, while you could certainly build that location up, then go out,
this
gather
might be a
stuff,
little
bring it back. There is a gameplay style where you then instead create smaller.
Okay, it's in the next clip, I believe. Here we go. So this is 7 months ago. Star Citizen Live QA making missions 2.
The beacon system is something which provides for players to contract other players.
I think Jared jumps in on this one.
And it's a system we will be looking to expand upon in the future. And personally, I think that this side of the economy is fundamental, given that we are having a hybrid economy. So player-driven.
And Elliot's about to ruin this discussion, by the way, which is great.
Yeah, that's Space Tomato. Clip it. Fundamentally said.
Yes. Yeah, it really is. I don't
He
think
was about to say, like, talk about the player-driven versus player versus game-driven stuff, and then Elliot just jumps in and says something about Space Tomato.
like I said, I'm going on 10 years here now. I've had 100 conversations with Tony and with everybody else who's involved with this stuff, and I cannot overstate how important the player-driven aspect of our economy is to us. It's just things like the player beacon system and stuff. It's just waiting for it, the eye of development, Sauron, to turn its eye back to it. Resources to free up, new technology.
If it was, you would not be making these decisions. Okay? So once again, I can't express how important it is and things like that. I think this is just an extra. Yeah, these are all just extras. This is Tarkov insurance that I had here. I don't think that this is necessarily the best solution, but this is a solution. Basically, if anything is taken from you, and there's all sorts of like monetization things that could happen here as well, that Tarkov does. But if anything is taken from you and it is left in the raid, it'll come back to you. I had this in here. I thought I was going to discuss it, but I don't really think I'm going to. There is another option. I can go into Eve and explain something as well. But again, I don't want to turn this into Star Citizen should be Tarkov. Star Citizen should be Eve. Star Citizen should be Star Citizen. And we should solve the problems that are in Star Citizen. So once again, I want to pose to you a question. And I wrote this question in my little document. Be honest with yourself. You've heard tier 0, you've heard tier 1, you've heard tier 2. If there was an easy to access marketplace with affordable armor, weapons, ship components, ammo, and so on, perhaps where you respawn, and a UI that was super easy to use, that let's say takes about 2 minutes to equip your ship, your character, and what you feel would need to be applied to whatever you want to do, and just get you back in the game. Would you care if they did any of these systems? What if all shop purchases were cosmetic and you never lost them and they were just applied like every other game? Right? If there isn't demand for new items, there isn't demand for crafting. I'm not calling for constant murder hoboing and players dying nonstop all the time. I'm not even saying that if you go to Pyro with those items, insurance shouldn't be applied necessarily. I'm speaking from a healthy player-ish driven economy. The system that you have engaged in makes no sense. Makes no sense. Zero. You want to claim your sub items. They shouldn't be sub items in the first place, Ollie. They shouldn't be, because the problem with sub items is they're not just cosmetics. They're literally a weapon. That is a sub item. You're just going to get that back. This is a sub item. You're instantly going to get this back. You have an advantage over people who didn't buy this thing. I don't think anybody truly wants there to be some sort of an advantage because you paid money. I really don't think people believe that that's something that needs to be in the game. They feel that if I paid money, I shouldn't lose the thing that I paid money for. And I think we're under the assumption that most of these things people purchased as a cosmetic, not as gaining an advantage. I truly believe that. Be honest with yourself. Did you buy the grenade launcher because you wanted a grenade launcher at the start of every game? Oh, yeah. Remember Siege of Orison? There were a lot of people buying those because they could never lose them, and they were able to recopy their accounts to the server and just come back in and start blasting people. There are tons of holes in this. You ready for this one? And the Tier 0 implementation, what happens when you have a Carrack and somebody kills you on it? You just get to immediately teleport behind them and just shoot them in the back after they've killed you? How is that fair? And then on top of that, now what happens? Are you going to endlessly kill the person who is in the Carrack medbed before they get up while they're stuck in an animation? Is that a good experience for anybody? Right? That's it. Where is a system like this? I'm going to bring up Eve, but this is in nearly every modern game these days. This is in nearly every modern game, okay? I am going to bring up Eve, deal with it. It's not a let's turn Star Citizen into Eve scenario, okay? It's very, 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 common in other video games. And Eve does this really, really well. I hope I'm at MJ. We'll see. I am. Okay, so perfect. I am at a location. This is my respawn location, right? So this is really cool. I'm at my respawn location. So what can I do here? I can go to fitting. I can go to fitting and I can choose any ship there is. And these are fittings that are created by the community or my alliance or things like this. These are created by players who know what they're doing, and I don't. And there's this amazing button right here that literally buys everything. Boom, boom, boom. It tells me if it's overpriced, underpriced, if I'm getting scammed. This one's 89% higher than what it should be. So I could choose to buy that or not. I can then click on the item and show info and find different variations of it if I want to get a smaller one. And I click buy. All of that stuff, if it's available here, instantly goes into my inventory. And then guess what? I right-click on the ship and apply the fit. And it happens instantly. Within 30 seconds, I'm back in game after dying. Would you complain about losing ships? Please be honest in the comments. Would you complain about losing ships? Would you complain about losing armor? Would you complain about losing your gun? Would you complain about losing ammo if this was the system? On top of that, would you complain about, what if the system allowed you to put your FPS weapons literally in your ship's like attachment for them? I forget, like the weapon rack or the armor rack. What if I was able to use a system like this and apply everything? Would you ever have a problem with this? Right? What you just described as tier 1. No. Because those items have to be available. And those items in this game are created by the players. So that is the most important thing that is broken here. And now that we're down to the bottom of this story, is this affects a healthy player-driven economy and makes no sense in a player-driven economy. Reason being is I am engaging with a CIG system, and I am not engaging with a player system. That's the problem here. Every item that was there was created by a player. Every single item. The only thing that was created by the game were the blueprints to create those items and the commodities used to create those items. Those were done by PvE, mining, salvaging, and so on. They were sourced from the game, and a player created them. What is the incentive? Now, I understand that I am biased here, and I want to go down the crafting route of the game. But do you think... how about this? Would you be incentivized to do that dungeon that's going to be at ArcCorp? Would you be incentivized to farm the Valakar if there's no incentivization from players to buy those commodities, buy those armors, buy those ship components, buy those things that you create? Would that incentivize that gameplay? Because even if you don't like crafting, whatever you do get, you will sell to players who do, and they will craft. I understand that every player wants to play the game their way. And I'm not trying to make the game my way. It's in order for you to just PvE or order for you to just PvP, in order for you to just do bunkers or just salvage or just mine, there has to be people in the game who desire what you are pulling out of the game, what you are creating from the game. There has to be this desire. Okay? And this comes from my I've been playing MMOs since I was 16. Since I was 15, and I just turned 40 this week. That has always been a part of those, going all the way back to Ultima Online. We always needed players to desire the things that you are playing the game for. And then you need things in the game for yourself to use that money for. And if you're not losing things, what are you using that money for? If you're not working towards something, what are you using that money for? Right? Remember that crafting has tiers, though. Yes. So there is options to be like, oh, you just go down to the base and then it has to be crafted up or something like that. There's options here, but everything was left incredibly vague. This is 100% being done because of some sort of monetization that they want to do. I can almost guarantee you there's going to be a push to be selling armors, guns, all sorts of things like that, when there should be a push to be selling cosmetics, right? So, I hope this was very clear. I hope this wasn't this angry post or me trying to divide anybody. It is the exact opposite. It is, I want everybody to enjoy Star Citizen in the way that they want to enjoy them, but I want them to just do that thought experiment and understand that a really good MMO requires all of us to be playing the game in our own way, but interacting with each other via systems like a marketplace, buy and sell orders, an auction house, and the desire for people to want to participate in the content that they enjoy because other people use that content that they enjoy, right? And once again, nobody should lose anything that they paid real money for, but nobody should be buying items that players would be crafting for real money. Nobody should. Now, obviously, ships have been sold and things like that, but are we so far gone that we can't rip the gun out of players' hands and turn it into a cosmetic? Are we so, like, that is a legitimate question that I'm asking you. That is something that I believe I would be okay with. But I don't know if the rest of you would be, but I think that would solve a lot of problems that we have here. If you ripped the actual item out of players' hands and made it an application that you can put onto a base armor, I don't think people would care that much. Because you're not buying, all the armors are exactly the same. If you have heavy armor, it's heavy armor. If you have light armor, it's light armor. Currently. So there's what's coming in the future, I don't know. But that's where I stand with this. And they chose a solution that they're trying to solve a monetization problem by applying that solution blanket to all the items in the game. And that makes no sense. No sense. If you're trying to solve a monetization, a cosmetic problem by applying it to the random FS9 that I bought at Checkmate, what are you doing? What the fuck are you doing? That makes no sense. That's the problem here. That's the issue that I have, is that you're ripping the idea of a player crafting completely out of their hands, and you're making this a solo experience that no one engages in each other with. And that doesn't mean that you have to come to my hangar and I pull up the freight elevator and you buy the stuff from me like we have to do now. It is as simple as I am buying 500 P6LRs at Orison. And guess what? Somebody that has a P6LR blueprint, if that price is more than the amount that it costs to make it, someone's going to fill that order. Because if there is a desire for that player to make money and do something with it and progression systems and so on, they are band-aiding a system, and I literally said, this isn't even a band-aid, this is a full body cast to a system instead of resolving the core issues with the game. Number one, there's no incentivization to play. There's no incentive to craft, all these things. There's none of that stuff, right? That's the problem with the game right now, right? That's the problem. And that needs to be understood by them, that you are thinking thoughtlessly is what it feels like. You are not thinking about the big picture, and you're trying to solve one problem. It's very crazy. Do you think this stupid system is something they came up with recently? Because it sure feels like it. It seems thoughtless because there's endless holes in it. And it again seems like it came out of a monetization meeting, not a game design meeting. But I don't think all hope is lost. I could tell you this, that this is not the game I want to play if that's a system that comes into it. Because again, I know for myself that I want to play the crafting side of the game. I have no desire to PvP or anything like that. Okay? But I know that people who PvP have no desire to do this either because there's no incentivization to loot anybody. Also, what happened to Tier 0? Why are we still doing Tier 0 mechanics? That's something we don't want. We don't want to be doing Tier 0 things anymore. There is absolutely no reason or need to implement this system now unless they're trying to sell something to you. I guarantee you there's going to be armor sales like crazy. Read Xylo's response to you. Link it. I guarantee you that the armor sales are coming out the wazoo. Clothing sales, new armor systems coming in, or whatever, okay? I imagine these things are happening. All right, I hope he replied to you, because I'm not going to be able to find your question. Spectrum's moving really slow right now. What happened to no more Tier 0 implementations? Laughing face. Okay, nice. Hold on, I guess I'm in Eve. Item recovery has become one of the most frequently requested features, and we want to start rolling it out improvements here sooner than later. Instead of creating a temporary system that would eventually need to be replaced, we've structured the intended full design into tiers, allowing us to introduce aspects of... Is this real life? How stupid do you think we are? How stupid do you think I am? I'm pretty dumb, and I'm not this dumb. So hold on. We're rolling out a system that is temporary, so we don't have to redo systems later. What? Oh my God, that's crazy. This one's crazy. This is classic Xylo. Classic Xylo. This one's crazy. Xylo has never joined a discussion without lighter fluid. Okay? The moment I saw it was a post from Xylo, I said, here we go. This is going to be bad. This is going to be bad. Okay, hold on. I still haven't even read through it. Temporary system would eventually need replacing. We've structured the intended full design, allowing us to introduce aspects earlier rather than waiting for the entire crafting system and insurance system to be completed. Each tier, 0 to 2, is a step that ladders up to the full robust system that the team is building. No. So here's a really good response. And I'm going to update that. Recovery of store-bought items and subscriber gear is a frequently requested feature. Recovery of your entire loadout, thus making it unlootable by a person who killed you, is not one of your most requested features. How did this idea make it through all the management to the point where you guys are pulling the trigger on it? This is insane. Dead man switch and armor? How does this even make sense or work lore-wise? Why is that even becoming a thing? Nobody asked for any of this goofy stuff. All people cared about is having their sub/pledge items recovered, and we're seeing this giant overcorrection that reaches into other areas of the game that are currently fine and not need tweaking. This is insane. And this is such a good response. It basically TLDR's everything that I have to say. The only other thing that I would say is that players definitely want to get back into the game and start playing again very quickly. And the way to do that is to create a good player market that is easy to interact with and a system to easily inject all that stuff onto your character and on your ship and inside your ship and get going and get playing. But all of those items should be purchased by players. All of those items should be created by other players, or in some limited situations, NPCs. Maybe the base items, NPCs, and tiers up through players. Whatever they want to do, there's definitely better ways to do it than the way they're currently doing it. That's all I have on this subject. This is completely an overcorrection. That is the best way to do it. You can call it stupid, you can call it dumb, you can call it dented, you can call it whatever you want to call it and be rude. But if you want to just get through and just try to get through to them, this is a giant overcorrection. That's what's happening here. And it's just not thought through well enough. And it feels like a marketing side of the company is saying, yo, we need to sell these things. The gameplay side of the company was like, let me, do something real quick in my free time, and did not think this through. So here we are. And, this could be the end for some players. This could be the beginning for others. There's definitely attempt to do something good here, but it is a failure on every level. And it is my mission. It has always been my mission to get through to the members of this community and the dev team that player interaction via a risk and reward combined with a good marketplace and crafting makes a really, really cool and fun MMO. And I'm not quitting today, but this is definitely a step towards me going to other games that just do this better at some point. And I probably will if this is what happens. But until then, with every ounce of my body, I will do my best to try to explain what I find fun in games like this. And that's it. Right? And that's it. And hopefully we get through to them, because they clearly want piracy to be a thing. They mentioned it in the post. They clearly want risk and reward to be a thing. They've mentioned it hundreds of times. And they just got to think this one through a little bit. Nothing is, if anybody knows anything, nothing is set in stone with this company. And if you explain yourself clearly and you explain yourself in a way that makes sense, then there's a good chance that you can shake these things up and kind of help people understand that you don't have to reinvent systems and you could just go with what other games do. Many other games just apply cosmetics. Many other games allow their players to do most of the work and just interact with each other and see what happens. Remember all the emergent gameplay and stuff they want? This takes so much of that away. And that's all I have on it, and that's all I'm going to say. I'm going to quickly, try to get this up on YouTube so I could point to it, and that'll be that. So, yeah.